Tonight, we are going to witness the most anticipated match in the history for the thousands in attendance. Are you ready?
Hey, get in!
Come on, for two reasons. Get in there and get that off.
Yes,
Love that
we can have the zebra on if we win, Pete. Yes, we are back. Welcome to Loaded Mag NUFC. We're in that tinsel. Yes, it is the reaction show to Newcastle versus Aston Villa. And yes, we said we come on early this morning for a bit of a sing-along, wake the boys up, and let's go. Let's go. But first, how's Christmas, guys? How was it going? I'll go on. We're rocking a Christmas jumper today, a Newcastle Christmas jumper.
Oh, I like that.
Meant to be a Rudolph there somewhere. But
like that.
Chris, how are you? How's the head?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. I've got, you know what? I've woke up with a little bit of a sore throat this morning, so I'm a little bit nervous. But no matter what happens, I'm very happy because normally on the build-up, because my birthday's the middle of December, and then obviously Christmas time, I'm normally ill for one of those two. It's always an absolute certainty, and I've managed to escape it this year. So even if I do fall a little bit ill, I've got my Madri in, I've got my Guinness in, I've got a little bit of whiskey and rum there. I'll be fine, and I'm off. So I will get through it. And more importantly, I've managed to avoid it over my birthday and Christmas, so I can't really complain. But now I'm good
already.
What's that?
You already have your medicine in, just in case.
It's there. It's waiting. Took recommendations off this guy, so I'm set. I'm ready. I'm all right. But yeah, really nice Christmas, mate. Really enjoyed it. Kids were made up and stuff. So yeah, it's just, do you know what? It's just been nice to wake up and not be thinking work. It's just been dead chill, dead relaxed, spend a bit of time with the family. So no, it was really, really, really good. But Pete, how are you and how was your Christmas?
Yeah, pretty perfect Christmas for me. I'm not gonna lie. Really good to spend time with family. And just seeing lots of people. We've had lots of people round, and just being able to socialize and spend time with people. It's just been really nice, to be fair. Life's so busy sometimes is that you don't get to kind of just stop and just relax and enjoy people's company without thinking of what's to come next. So it's been really enjoyable. And of course, the black and white boys just make it all that little bit special. Just like that cherry on the top when they're putting in stellar performances like we've seen over the Christmas period. So been pretty perfect for me. I'm not going to lie, really, really enjoyed it. But Daz, how are you, fellow? How's things?
Not too bad. As if last time I spoke to you boys, I was just kind of coming down with the flu, but kind of carried that into Christmas Day. But second half of Christmas Day, it wasn't too bad. Again, catching up with family, half the family. You need to catch up with the rest of half of the family over the next couple of days as well. But that game yesterday really perked us all up with goals flying in left, right, and center. But great Christmas so far. Let it continue. Right, let's get into it, boys. Let's go and talk a bit of shop. And just heads up, I'm out the door at 10:30, so I'm going to hit the road. So I'll let you carry on at that stage. Just anyone would know where I disappeared to. My alarm is set. Right, this is the team news, and no big surprises, guys. Because one, I suppose, was that Trips come in instead of Tino. Tino out with illness, but J7 back in for Willock. No mad changes there. And this was the Villa side that we demolished as well. And any comments on the team news there, first of all?
That's me.
Not majorly, no. I think I was pleased when I saw the lineup. I love, you boys know, I love J7 in the middle. I really do. As much as Willock had a really good game last game, I just thought, you know what, it's nice. It's nice having J7 back in the middle. Obviously, with Gordon on the left, Isak through the middle, and Murphy's banging form. I couldn't really complain. A little bit disappointing to see Tino miss out, but if he's under the weather, so be it. And we've got a more than capable understudy, haven't we, in Kieran Trippier? So no, I was pleased, and then looked at the bench as well, and bench looks reasonably strong. So yeah, no, I felt confident going into the game. I did.
Cool. Let's rock on. Let's rock on. I know, Pete. You were happy with what was put out as well. But yeah, okay. First man in. Like we had to wait 25 seconds last week for our first goal. Could it make it a bit quicker? Probably not. But let's go into it. And Newcastle won the ball in midfield. Tonali wins the ball. J7 goes on a bit of a run. Gordon, he cuts inside and he takes that shot. Back of the net, boom, 1-0 Newcastle. Anthony Gordon running down the road. Gordon, hear the joy sing. Gordon, we're all going to Madrid. And we might be yet. You never know. Who knows? What a goal from Anthony Gordon to take us 1-0 up after 90 seconds this time. Cue the celebrations from the boys. But what are you having for that one, boys? Pete, let's go to you first. Thoughts on Gordon's goal?
I think I'll put in your chat, below the chat, I'll put unbelievable. And it was an absolutely stunning goal. It really, really was. But as you said, Daz, the build up to the goal set the tone for me for the game. Kamara has the ball. We give it away cheaply a little bit. I think it might have been Murphy. I can't remember who. Kamara has the ball, but the way Tonali bullies him off the ball with ease to set that move away and to release Joelinton, who made that was one of many powerful runs that he made through their midfield yesterday. Simple pass to Gordon. And it's exactly what we've been waiting for, is Gordon to do what we saw last season. And it was a special goal. To beat Emi Martinez from that distance in that manner, arguably one of the best goalkeepers in the world, with relative ease, just shows you how good that goal was. And to do it within a minute and a half of the game starting, it was a real special goal. And you know what? He deserved that. As he said in his interview after the game, he's been working and practicing hard on trying to finish. He clearly knows it's an area of his game he needs to improve on. We've all noticed it. And, practice makes perfect. And he keeps working on it, and you get a goal like that, and he's back in business. But a real special way to start the game. I thought it was brilliant.
Christopher, your thoughts on Mr. Flash?
Yeah, it's funny. I remember Pete saying a very, very, very long time ago that you almost know what Newcastle you're going to get within the first few minutes. And when that goal went in, and the manner in which the goal went in, it just set the tone. It really, really did. Sandro winning the ball back absolutely brilliantly. And it kind of justifies all the love we've all got for him at the moment, particularly. We all love him anyway, but the fact that he's in that number 6 role and he's dominating midfields, and for him to do that, simple pass to Joelinton threads it through to Anthony Gordon, who's still got loads to do. And Pete's right, Emi Martinez, and from what I remember, Emi Martinez is like 6'5", 6'6". He's a big fella. So to lob him from where he did was just brilliant. It was a great finish from Anthony Gordon. And this is why I love Anthony Gordon on the left, because he just looks a threat. And it's a great finish. And then he runs over, does a little celebration, and then just gives it one of them. And I was just like, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But now made up for Gordon. And yeah, it just set us on our way perfectly. I mean, we've been saying now for the last few weeks, haven't we, boys? We can get that first goal. And we're scoring early. We're doing what Brentford were doing a few weeks back. Brentford was scoring like incredibly early in matches, and we're doing exactly the same. And it's almost laying down the marker and just going, you're in for the game now. Villa, heads must have gone down thinking, do you know what, we're not even 2 minutes in and we're 1-0 down at home. Away at St James's Park. It was brilliant, and it was exactly what we needed. And yeah, for me, I think it just kicked the lads on even further. It was great for the fans. We've not always had the best of Boxing Days, so for us to go 1-0 up so early was brilliant, and it was a superb finish, absolutely superb.
Nice one. Have some of that, Chris Wood. All right, move on. Because Newcastle are able to deal with Aston Villa through at them. Tonali and J7 were absolutely excellent. 21 minutes, Dubravka save from a Diania free kick. 24 minutes, J7 header after a nice Newcastle move, saved. 29 minutes, yes, Newcastle win a free kick. Bit of dark arts with the shirt pulling, but Newcastle will get a free kick. You're thinking, is it going to be Trips? Is it going to be Schär? With a bit of a thunder blaster, but it was Schär, and the keeper saved it. But we didn't have to wait too much longer for a bit more action, because yes, Jhon Durán lost his head. He goes and he tackles Schär. I know I didn't see it first, but you can see it in the replay. He tackles Schär, he follows through, he stamps at him twice, straight red card. Like the Newcastle players were led by Dubravka, they ran after him, and you knew something went down then. But boys, there's a little still on it, but you've seen it back, I'm sure, a number of times. Definitely a red card.
Yeah, for me, mate, all day. I'm surprised around the furore, around whether it was or it wasn't. And I noticed David John Cook has also put in the chat. Shaver said it was a no red. I haven't seen that, but it does surprise me, because for me it's a Stonewall. It's a Stonewall red. I thought it was a red at the time when it happened, and when I watched the replay, there was no doubt. And the key thing for me, and I've said this a few times, and I'm sure you boys agree, I always look at the reaction of the players. Martin Dubravka sprints over and starts kicking off over it. Joelinton went into Hulk mode, which is never a good thing. and I just thought, yeah, this is definitely a red. This, and then so my initial thoughts were red. I saw the players' reactions. I thought kind of marries up, and then I saw the replay. For me, I don't see why anyone's saying it's not, because it's that trailing right leg. He makes the challenge, and yes, there will be contact, and he can't prevent that. But it's what he does when Schär's on the floor, and he could quite literally just plant his feet, but instead he chooses to let his right leg ride over the back of Schär's back. And for me, that's why it's a Stonewall red, because there's clear intent there. And when he gets up, you notice. Schär's on the floor, and obviously Durán ends up on the floor. He gets up and he's like almost trying to comfort Schär, as if to go, "Oh, sorry about that, mate." And then he walks away rather sheepishly. And so to me, that tells me he knows what he's done, and I think instantly he's gone, shouldn't have done that. The commentator was saying he was aggrieved at not being able to take a free kick earlier on in the game, and this is the problem that you have with players like Jhon Durán, naturally incredibly talented, but mentality. And if you're Unai Emery, you're thinking, cheers for that, John, because you've just cost us the game. Because as soon as he went off, I thought, it's done now. All we've got to do is get a second. So yeah, absolutely red card for me, guys.
Pete, fiery Colombian strikers. Would you put Durán up there with them? And was it a red for you?
Absolutely. Like, I've been going in on this all afternoon, all evening, all night, and even this morning with Billy on this bloody chat. Right? He is adamant that he reckons the refs cheated. He reckons we got every decision. Honestly, it's an absolute joke for anybody to think that that's not a red card. I don't care. I don't care if Shearer says it. Shearer, of course, is going to say these things because he has to stay balanced and neutral. I don't know why, because Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher don't, and lots of other ex-players from other clubs don't stay neutral to their team. It's a blatant red card. It's a blatant red card. I've just got some pictures just to show you in motion. Okay, and this is from a Villa fan actually, which just proves it all. Okay, this is the major stamp here. This is the major situation that gets him the red card. So, some Villa fans saying that there isn't any contact. There's clearly studs on the back of him. And then what you can see is, this is the second image. So the stamp then continues through to his back and then moves forward. Now, some people are saying, well, what is he supposed to do? What is he supposed to do in that situation? His left leg buckles. So he's not in control of his body. You are. Okay. If anyone's buckled their ankle, and I've done it many a times, I've broke my ankle in that way, done my ligaments so many times for that same motion. Your natural body movement isn't to go forward, which is what he does with his leg. Your natural body movement is to go and rebalance yourself, which tips you onto your right hand side. So if anything, his body should have landed on Schär, not his leg or his foot. Okay, and this is what people don't know or have completely forgotten about this. Yes, the buckle stroke first, like kind of stamp on Schär, okay, may well have been accidental. I'll give him that, okay, because you don't tend to buckle your leg on purpose, your ankle. But that second one, that for me is on purpose. And the reason being is because Jhon Durán had lost his head way before that 31 minutes. Way before that 31 minutes. Way before the free kick. Way before the free kick that he wanted to take and he threw down because he wasn't taking it. Luca Dean took it instead, which is what you boys just mentioned. Jhon Durán's head was not in that game from minute one. And I know because I was watching it. And I think if any Villa fan is honest with themselves, they'd have watched Jhon Durán even before that moment and said, yeah, his head ain't right today. Because I've seen him play in the Champions League. I've seen him play in league games. And I was really worried about him yesterday. He was not in the game. And Burn and Schär were on him all of the time. He had nothing in that game whatsoever. And I think he was frustrated. And maybe it's that Colombian kind of aggression or whatever you want to call it. Maybe there's that your youth element in his game. I don't know. But his head wasn't in that game and he was frustrated. He was frustrated because he thought he was in and Schär's beat him for pace and won that ball fair and strongly. And what he's done is left a bit on him. Players do it. Any professional will say players do it. But the problem is he made it way too obvious. I think the stamp was meant to be intended to be a stamp, the first one, but I think it's buckled his leg and then he's followed through on the other side. And some people are saying, oh, yeah, I've had Dan Potts just a second ago, just message saying, oh, it's not malicious. Well, not every red card's malicious. Doesn't mean that it's not a red card. It can still be, accidental or without proper intent. But if it's a serious foul play, which it was, when you're raking your studs against someone's back, okay, who's on the floor, by the way, that doesn't mean that it's not a red card. And then you got the other question. Okay, some people are saying, Billy's done the same. The ref, too quick to get his red card out. No.
It took his time.
Watch the full game back.
Yeah, it took his time.
From the moment that tackle happened to the red card coming out, there was nearly half a minute, 25 seconds, in fact, to be exact, between those two moments. If you're telling me that that's quick to react, no, it's not. The referee has took his time. There was a mini melee between players. Trippier's trying to move the Villa players away and move the Newcastle players away. He's trying to do the right thing, separate them out. Right, between that moment, the ref has had an opportunity to evaluate the situation, look back at the situation, forget VAR. He's done it himself and made the decision. For me, the referee's done the right thing. He took the time. 25 seconds is a long time in that motion. We've been in situations where before the refs even got to the play, he's already got the card out ready to show somebody. This was not the case. He has made the right decision and took time to make the right decision. And because he's took that time, why do VAR need to go to him and change his mind? Aren't we in a moment where we're trying to get referees to take responsibility and take more responsibility and not have VAR to re-ref everything? It was the right decision. And so I don't get it. I don't get it. I do get it to a point, actually. The Villa fans have got to be frustrated because their best player, and he is right at the moment, he's the most influential player alongside Rodgers for obvious reasons. He's now going to be missing potentially for 3 games. And they'll probably appeal it, but I'll be surprised if it gets overturned. And not that I care because we ain't going to play them now until later on in the season. But I just think, for me...
Cheerio!
Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
It's a really, really dead-on decision. Nothing wrong with it for me. And I think actually the ref made the right decision and took his time to do so.
I noticed just to finish it. I noticed Rich put here, how's he stamped on him? He hasn't stamped on him. You're right, Rich. He hasn't stamped on him. but it's what he does in the follow through. He could have his leg buckles, as Pete says, and he had an opportunity in my eyes to let his leg just fall, but instead he lets it fall and he drags it across Schär's back. He could have put it to the side, Pete. He could have done that.
Yeah. There's your image 2. So that's after his foot's already on his backside.
His left foot's
onto his back. That's contact through to his back at that point. And like you said, he's followed through with it. He's left his foot out. He's tried to leave something on it. He has, because his head's gone. His head had gone. And the booting of the bottle and all the rest of it afterwards just proves it. His head was gone. Durán's head was gone. He wasn't getting his own way, which is what he's been used to playing this season. In the most part, Champions League, Premier League, been getting his own way. He weren't, because these centre-backs, they might not be the quickest, but I tell you what, they'll get into you, and they'll make it very, very difficult for you to get into the game. And they did exactly that.
Right, boys, we're going to move on. Villa then down to 10 men. 25 minutes, J7 nearly gets in on the header with a goal chance. All Newcastle then, as they go in search of a second. Villa in trouble. J7, ball in the net. Great Newcastle move, but Isak did bring the ball over the line when he cut it back. So it was the right call. It was well over the line. 43 minutes, Tonali unlucky after great work from Bruno, was saved. J7 did get a yellow then on the kind of minimal arm contact towards Rodgers, but a yellow was enough on that occasion. Then that took us to half-time. Newcastle 1-0 up. There was a bit of a melee at half-time, and yet there is no footage, but we've got an exclusive footage actually of what happened at half-time. I won't have seen this before, so just minimize that comment, Chris. Here's I think this is the one.
Wishing you a very Merry Christmas, and hopefully it's not your last Christmas.
Apologies, that is the wrong footage. I don't know what I've made a mistake there. I'm so sorry about that. Turns out we don't have exclusive footage. But anyway, let's carry on into that second half, because Villa then go and make a change. Watkins comes on for Villa. Actually, let's go back. That Mad Dog did get a red card along with the Villa coach. Did you hear much more about what happened? I heard talk of a melee and the players getting involved in protecting JT as well. But that's all I heard. I suppose we will hear more in time. But
pushing and shoving. I think personally, I think it was a target from what a few people have said. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. It seems like some of the journalists actually who obviously were there talking about. Villa, some of the Villa staff were trying to get at Tyndall because of his interactions with Unai Emery on the touchline. I know there's been some videos going out between those two going back and forth, and I think some of the other staff have tried to get at him, turned into a melee, and I think the referee just does the simple thing: who's caused the most disruption? Well, Tyndall, and then whoever it was on the Villa side, and just got rid of both. But look, it is what it is. I think from what they were saying, most of the staff were just trying to break things up, and that's why it seemed a lot worse than what it was. A lot of people around creates a melee, but actually, if people are just trying to separate people and just get them back into change rooms, then it looks a lot worse than what it is.
Exactly. Who's Baz? Anyway, let's move on. 47 minutes, Isak ball across, no one there. 53 minutes, Isak shot saved by Martinez. Patient Newcastle build up in that one. 58 minutes, Bruno pass to Murphy. Murphy onto Isak for the tap in. 2-0 Newcastle. Here's some of the pictures. Isak 2-0 and celebration from Isak. But Chris, let's go to you. Thoughts on that second goal for Newcastle?
Yeah, Alexander Isak won't have an easier goal to score. But as I said to my youngest lad in the living room, and I screamed in his face, Alexander Isak scores goals. That's what I said to him. He wasn't very happy, but no, it was great. And do you know what? It was a relief, that goal. It was a relief because I kind of expected the second goal to come earlier than what it did. And you know, Villa, you've always got a chance when it's 1-0 because obviously there's only one goal in it, isn't there? But no, I was laughing at how easy it was for Isak to score his goal, but absolutely delighted. And as soon as it went 2-0, like I say, I just thought the game was done then. I think Isak ended up, was it like 4 yards out, and he just had a free shot at goal. But yeah, it was a relief when it went in, Daz, is what I'd say. But yeah, nice and easy for Alexander Isak and good build-up play from us as well. Because at that point, Villa were just stretched.
How was Isak's goal for you, Pete?
Stunning. Obviously, the goals, a very simple like goal. It reminded me very much of the Tottenham winner earlier on in the season. Ball from Murphy in, Isak with a tap in. But you know what? I loved the build-up play.
Yeah,
I loved the way we controlled possession. It really showed a different side to Newcastle United that we haven't seen for a while. We were putting them under immense pressure at that point. Some of the football was brilliant to see. Really intricate passing, cutting through Villa. Villa were all over the place. See players just like turning around constantly because they don't know who to mark. They don't know what position they need to be in. And that was what Newcastle United were creating. And at the crux of it all, Sandro Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes, and I think Kieran Trippier plays his part within that as well. Some lovely football and movement, particularly between Sandro and Bruno. But that ball from Bruno to Murphy, I've missed the ball, man. I've missed it. Champions League football. That ball going into Miggy that used to be that ball, that little threaded pass on a diagonal, is such it's an unplayable ball. Like teams can't defend that. It's brilliant, and he makes it look so easy. And it's just fantastic play. Just like literally knife through butter, and then Murphy's in, bang. As soon as Murphy plays that across goal, I'm already half hands up, celebrating because Isak don't miss those chances. You don't. And boys, I'm not gonna lie, it was sheer relief when that ball hits the back of the net. And the reason being is because even though we're 1-0 up, even though we were very comfortable at that point, you just thought, please, you don't want anything lucky going in the other end, and then you're under the cosh again. We needed that. I was saying to my mate who was here watching the game and just said, we get the second goal, game's done. And at that point, Villa's heads dropped. They knew it was game over. They knew they were not getting back in the game at that point. We knew almost the relief in the stadium. The players, they knew they'd done enough to win the game at that point. It was just, that was the thing. Lovely football, obviously simple finish from Isak, but he has to be there. And it's the relief of the fact that 3 points were coming home, boys.
And Pete, you said, didn't you, Pete, in our chat, Murphy again with the eyes. Murphy's doing his job on that right wing, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. £40 million man, Chris.
40 million.
He deserves his props. He absolutely deserves his props.
He does.
What's that now? 6 assists for the season. I don't think there's many above him in the Premier League for assists this season. And no matter what we think of him, and he does have moments. So, for example, later on in the game, he did fizzle out, and we didn't bring him off, and rightly so. He's going to have those moments, and that's for Eddie Howe to manage. But if he can continue to create moments like that in that short period, if we can get 60 minutes out of Murphy doing bits like that, and he gets an assist or a goal or whatever in that time, it's well worth it. Bring him off, get somebody else on to end the game, because he does fade quite quickly. You almost know when he's done. and he does fade very quickly. But I'll tell you what, yeah, he deserves absolute props for what he's doing at the moment, because he's in some form.
Yeah. And I know one man that's loving what he does, and it's this man. This man with all the dogs, he's loving what Murphy's doing, providing those assists, and of course he's moving up the goal charts as well for Premier League goals for Newcastle. He on March,
only one behind Cole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Shola.
Yeah.
He'll be second by the end of the season, boys. Easy.
Yeah, he will. He'll
be second by the end
of
the
season.
season.
Well, yep, he will.
To do that in 3 seasons, lads. To do that in 3 seasons. We give Callum Wilson his props, and rightly so, for him doing that and getting to the point where he was second in the seasons that he's been at Newcastle, and obviously not playing a lot of games. Well, Isak and Wilson, which is mad to think, are getting close to playing similar amount of games for Newcastle United. And for him to be at that point in doing it in a better ratio, I believe, just goes to show how good of a striker he is. And hey, boys, could he be picking it? If we were to keep hold of him for a few more years, he could be pushing the hundreds easily with his goal record.
It's crazy, isn't it? That image that's blown my mind. That obviously that's just the Premier League era, but that puts him. If all he needs is 6 goals, and then he becomes our second all-time Premier League goal scorer. Like that. Anyone who's questioning why, and you'll have heard it a lot on this channel, why we've said that Alexander Isak cannot leave Newcastle. That image is why. It feels like Alexander Isak's been there like a season. Doesn't even feel like he's been here that long, and he's 6 goals away from being our second all-time Premier League goal scorer. Like that shows how good he is. That just shows how good he is.
Remember, lad, he's had his own fair share of injuries too.
Yeah.
He could have had more. I mean, he missed nearly 5 months after his first couple of games when he got injured, when he first signed for the club. Like he could be even higher than that now. It's crazy.
Without the injuries, Pete, he'd be in his 50. He'd be in the 50s now, I reckon.
100%. Like he's a guy that if we kept for another few seasons, hopefully more, with success and various other things, that he could be the one that doubles that and gets into the hundreds and really kind of gets a lot closer to Big Al. Absolutely, because for me, he's at least the 20 goal a season striker, and I fully expect him by the end of this season to be on 20 again, 20 plus.
Right, boys, let's move on, because 3 minutes later, ball in the net again. The Isak and Murphy show on show again was ruled offside. Should have counted. I didn't really see it back again, but it was. Do you remember that one? It was 3 minutes after that, the second goal.
Are you on about the Isak offside?
Yeah.
I'm not sure,
I think he was just.
I'm not sure either.
And we didn't see the lines or anything like this. Now, initially, boys, I thought that they'd ruled it out because Isak was in front of the goalkeeper. Now, I didn't think he was in front of the centre back who was behind the goalkeeper, because I think there is some sort of weird rule where even if the defender's on the line, for example, if you're in front of the goalkeeper, you're considered offside. I think there's some sort of weird rule in that definitely needs to be changed, but it's an old rule. And so I thought initially, because he is in front of the goalkeeper, that's why it was ruled out. But then I've heard differently that it wasn't, and it was because his kneecap was in front of the centre back. Now I'm looking at that line and I'm going, I'm not sure. And it was like it looked very much like the Murphy Ipswich one in the last game, where it might look in certain angles offside, but when you straighten it up, it actually isn't. I didn't think it was offside personally. Look, now VAR made the decision, boys, and that's fair enough. But there was no lines drawn, there was no delay. It was done very quickly, and I'm just like, hold on a second, that looks a lot closer than just making an eye judgment on that. Shouldn't you be doing the line? So maybe it was the goalkeeper thing, maybe it wasn't. They didn't specify what it was, but if it was the defender, I'm not too sure, boys. Not going to lie.
Well, let's move on again, because 3 minutes after that again, Murphy hits a shot and comes off the bar after J7 had robbed the ball. But then Villa make it the 3 subs, and as they try to move up a gear. We ourselves on 77 minutes make 3 subs, trips off target on. Target? Remember him? Still earning a crust with us, isn't he? But against one of his old teams as well. But Murphy off, Barnes on, and Gordon off, Willock on. 81 minutes, deflection off Bruno, because the ball is in the net again. Deflection off Bruno, comes off, he's kind of elbow right. VAR ruled this one out.
I hate them.
I don't think they should have been ruled out.
Nah, because his arms were tucked in. It was like different if it was like that and he dragged the ball in. You go, yeah, it's on ball. But like his arms were tucked in. I know the rules are the rules, but it did feel harsh. That feel very harsh.
It did, yeah.
Look that back. They're saying the ball going directly in off an opponent's hand. It didn't.
No,
it went in off Luca Dean's leg. I don't think anybody's even made reference to that. The commentators didn't. Match of the Day and everybody else haven't. You watch that back behind the goal, it gets booted, it gets absolutely smashed at Bruno from like a short distance. It might hit his arm, but it could well hit his body as well, a bit of both. But it comes off Luca Dean's calf and into the goal. It actually, I don't even know whether it goes in directly if it doesn't touch his leg. And again, VAR don't look at this. So those Villa fans that are saying that Newcastle United got everything, no. Because if they did, it would have been 6-0 rather than 3-0.
Because they had the ball in the net 6 times. Yes, yeah, right.
That one, I'm not sure about, because I think it comes off Bruno, but it definitely 100% hits Luca Dean's leg, his calf, before it goes into the net. Now, if it comes off the post, fine. But it didn't directly go in off Bruno Guimaraes. It went in off Luca Dean, so it could well be ruled a Luca Dean own goal, which that's not direct, and so therefore should have been given.
Fair argument, yeah.
Let's move on, boys. The Newcastle Hunger is still there, even being 2-0 up and having an extra man. The desire is evident to finish off the job and to get that clean sheet. 91 minutes, big J7 makes it 3, intercepting the pass, doing all this all by himself. As he was kind of walking backwards, he intercepts the pass, walks it in to the edge of the box and smacks it, giving the keeper no chance. Again, an excellent finish by Joelinton, making it 3-0. And Newcastle cue the celebrations again. Boom. Boom. And this one as well. Boys, get your thoughts on J7's goal. Chris, we'll go to you first on this one.
Mate, I'm shaking my head because I just haven't got a clue what Amadou Onana's doing. Like, what is he actually doing? Like, the commentator's like, oh, he must be tired. And I'm thinking, it's nothing to do with being tired, mate. He's just tried to pass. And fair play to Joelinton. He's like on the half turn. So it almost looks like he's going to be running away from the goal, but he's almost like half looking and thinking, oh, I wonder what he's going to do with this. And then Onana just plays the ball and Joelinton's like, yeah, I'll have that. Intercepts it lovely. But again, boys, brilliant pressing. And obviously, like, you know, we're so high up the pitch, we're looking for that third goal. And he just, the composure that Joe shows, like, it's a brilliant finish. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think I am wrong, but Martinez doesn't even move. That's how well he strikes it. He puts it right in the top corner, and Martinez can't move. Yeah, Martinez is going to feel let down by Onana, but Joe's been really clever there. So he's on the half turn, and he's almost like, yeah, you know, just play your pass. I'm running that way. And as soon as he plays the pass, Joelinton just fully turns around, collects the ball, shuffles a little bit towards goal. Still got a hell of a lot to do. And like I say, he could have just done an air shot or whatever, but it was the composure that he showed, and he just thought, I'll put that in the top bin so the keeper's got no chance. And he bends it round, and Martinez is just rooted to the spot. It's a really good finish. And I know, you know, people will say, oh, well, he was gifted it on a plate. He still had lots to do, but it was very, very clever what Joelinton did. And yeah, I was made up to see Joe make it 3-0. Yeah, and it capped off a brilliant performance. Yeah, brilliant goal.
Great commentary there, Chris, because as you were describing it, Newcastle United tweeted out that goal. So as you were describing it, I was watching it back.
I was about to say that they're clearly watching loaded because
Yeah.
just as we brought up as a talking point, the tweet comes out as delivering the final blow. Can we have a word releaser, please, Chris? Black and white hearts only.
Yeah. She's. Yeah. Do you know what, mate? I think she's made up with a point yesterday. She's made up with a point.
Get well soon, Lisa.
Yeah. But it was a brilliant goal. Just watching it back there, you can see Konza is absolutely scared to bits of Alexander Isak because that's where he thinks the ball's going. Alexander Isak just peels off and he's just so scared. He doesn't want to get too close to Joelinton just in case he plays that little reverse pass, but it just opens up the space. And you're right. He still has a lot to do. And to finish that in the top corner, even from that position, is not easy. And to have Martinez at a standstill just shows how good a quality that goal was. And you don't always see that from Joelinton. You never really always think that it's in his locker. So it's nice to have such a caressed, sort of controlled finish like that and added that to his game.
Pete, what team was it where Joelinton scored the left foot? It was not exactly the same, but it was the composure to actually curl it into the corner. Which game was that?
This season?
Yeah, he done it about. Was it Forest? Oh. Yeah, and he
on
bent with his left foot.
Yeah. Into the corner. Yeah,
twice we've seen it now.
Yeah, so it's nice to add that to his game because we know he's got full power. Like he can strike a ball clean, but it's nice to have that sort of variation to his game. And I think it was a lovely finish, absolutely lovely finish, brilliant.
Then Isak off, 92nd minute, Sula on, and he actually was putting himself about everywhere as well, desperate to get a goal. Bruno off, Miley on as well. 3-0, Newcastle final score, ball in the net 6 times. It happened again, Aston Villa, it happened again. Told you it was going to be a musical this morning. Big statement win from Newcastle and another clean sheet as well. Boys, this man as well, another great game. No, not Perlo. Our boy, Tunali. Absolutely class as always now. Ever since he's been moved into that, been starting and moved into that number 6 role. Here's the team, the team photo as well. And look who's front and center, Mr. JT. Mr. Last Christmas himself. So loving that as well. Never get sick of those photos. But would you like to see the league table, boys?
I'd be delighted to see the league table, Dazzler.
Let's see the league table. Here it is. Boom. Here, we should be down here somewhere, aren't we? We're down mid-table. Hang on, I don't see us. Is there something wrong with the table? Oh, look where we are, up in 5th spot.
Look at
that. We said at the start of the season, boys. Right, that's where we are. As things stand, at least. We are in 5th spot on 29 points. And the goal difference is nicely building up as well. As we look who we play next. Leaking goals, Man United. Bring that one on. But yeah, happy days, boys.
Very happy, mate. Very, very happy. I mean, obviously, Arsenal play tonight. Is Arsenal playing Ipswich at home tonight? Is that right? Yeah. So you would expect, wouldn't you? You'd expect an Arsenal win. So that'll put Arsenal on 36 points, which will put them in 3rd. So Pete, or I can't remember if it was you or Daz actually, who said in the chat last night, eyes have got to be firmly on Nottingham Forest now. Nottingham Forest and possibly Chelsea, because that's where we're aiming for now. And when you think, boys, you know, after the games tonight, it looks like we could be 6 points off seconds. You know, you've got to. Oh, sorry, no, it'll be 6 points off 3rd, won't it? 6 points off 3rd if Arsenal win, which is fantastic for us. And you know what, we've said how much big of a difference it would be if we could get 2-3 wins on the spin. We've now got those 3 wins on the spin, and look where we are in the league table. Now it's just about kicking on and really trying to get ourselves in that conversation with the top 4. Because if we do, and we can, bring in a couple of players in January, who knows what the second part of the season could hold. But it'll be huge, boys, absolutely huge. If we can make a couple of additions this January, push on and somehow get European football. If you'd asked me this, 4 weeks ago, I had grave doubts. But Eddie and the lads have absolutely turned it around. And every game we're playing, and there's a stat there that Wolsey put in, and we'll get to that when we get to the questions. But things are looking up, and it's great. It's just great to see us amongst it at the top, which is, in my opinion, where we belong.
Before we go to your thoughts, Pete, at the table, just want to reflect back on this old picture for December, because things are looking nice.
Wow.
And fair play to Eddie Howe and the players for turning things around. But just let's finish off that job now as well and see out the year with a win against Man United. Pete,
Unbeaten in December, because then you had that Liverpool game on there. That was the draw, wasn't it? So you got draw, win, and then Man United to go.
Brentford's only lost.
Brentford, yeah. It was the cup we beat them.
Yeah.
Cup was midweek.
We played them twice, didn't we?
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. I'm thinking we won. Yeah, we lost to Brentford on the 7th, didn't we? Yeah.
But only one. But like you said, only one loss out of that.
Yeah.
Still really good. For sure. I mean, you could have swapped that round, a draw at Brentford and a loss against Liverpool, and you would have said, you'd have said, that's absolutely kind of what you would expect. But boys, I'm not going to lie, it's pleasant viewing to see us fifth in the table. Look, it's still very tight as you go down that list, as in terms of points. Villa going down all the way down to Villa, they're only a point behind us in 9th. There's a bit of a gap with Brighton. Brighton played Brentford today, so that'll be an interesting one to see how that turns out, because they're in and amongst each other. Probably be happy with a draw there. Keeps that gap there to 10th, slightly wide at 3 points. And that's what we need to do now, boys. You look at that table. Where we are now is where we want to be. Let's be honest. So what we want to do now is start creating a gap between those teams below us. So, and I'm looking at those teams just as you've gone down slightly, Daz, with the likes of Bournemouth, with the likes of Fulham, ideally with the likes of Villa, but Villa will always be within that mix. But creating a gap there. Man City will start to win games at some point. But how can we keep a gap between those teams that are almost playing beyond themselves? They're having brilliant seasons in Fulham and Bournemouth, but how can we create a gap with those to really kind of set ourselves apart? Well, we go and win at Old Trafford in the Premier League since Johan Cabaye on Monday. That's what we go and do. We go and win that game. You look at the teams that are playing each other. Fulham have got Bournemouth in the next game. We've got Man United. You've got Arsenal playing Ipswich, fair enough. Forest are playing Everton. I don't know who Villa have got.
Villa have got Brighton next. And that's what Cash is going to be missing. For remember, he got a yellow card in the game.
You look at those, and teams around us are all playing each other. So teams are going to be dropping points. We can get to Old Trafford and win. That starts to create a nice gap. And that's what we need to do, because you look at our fixtures, boys, Premier League fixtures alone, we win it. We go and win at Old Trafford. Yes, we've got a tough game against Tottenham. We don't know what Tottenham to expect these days. But after that, you've got back-to-back league games at home with the likes of Wolves and Bournemouth. Both, you would say, winnable games, more than winnable games. Then you've got a trip to Southampton after that. So you've got the next 3 games after these next 2 that are more than winnable. You go and win those points. We go and win at Old Trafford and we go and win at Tottenham. You've got 3 next Premier League games that are really winnable. You're going on a 6, 7, 8 game run of wins potentially. And that is what separates you from the other teams, because that would be the level of consistency that no other team around us has been able to put together. And that's what would put us right in the driving seat for European football, if we can go and do something like that. Now, it's a big ask. It's easy for me to say, let's go do it. It's whether the boys can continue that and continue to push that motive to want to. I look at these boys right now, lads, and I'm looking at a hungry set of players. A hungry set of players that know what their remit is, that know what their objective is, and are determined to achieve it. I need to see that away from home. against Man United, because this Man United team, in my opinion, boys, and if you agree, this Man United team are more winnable than what it was the back end of last season when we were going there on the Wednesday before the end of the season, and they looked beaten at that point and won. How? I have no idea. This team looks more beatable now. It's a massive.
Yeah, mate, I completely agree with you. Completely agree with you. I watched Wolves Man United yesterday, and Man United just look all over the place. And just as you were talking before, Pete, about a little cherry on the top. The cherry on the top last night, and somebody in the chat already put it. Bruno Fernandes, anyone who didn't watch it, got a red card after getting 2 yellows. So he misses the game against us on Monday. And Manuel Ugarte also got a further yellow card, which means he misses the game. So not only are Man United in horrendous form at the moment, but they're missing 2 of the key players. There it is, Tom Dixon. They're missing 2 of the key players. And I'm not going to lie, boys, I am looking forward to Monday. I'm really looking forward to Monday, because if we can go there, pick up a win, it's going to have been a fantastic December for Newcastle United, and let's see where it puts us in the league. But it's going to create an even bigger gap and give Ruben Amorim and his team a big mountain to climb if we go and beat them at Old Trafford.
And just like we've had an early morning show this morning after the Villa game, we're going to go straight, or our plan at the moment anyway, is to go straight live for the reaction after that Man United game on the next day. So keep your eyes peeled for that. We get some questions, Chris.
Things are still out for that one.
Yes, they'll still be there, Pete. Hopefully, all things going well. The shades will still be there. Let's get some questions, Chris. I have 5 minutes before I'm going to leave you boys to carry on the show.
Yeah, don't worry, mate. We will just quickly we'll touch on a few as while you're here. I love this from Wolsey, and thank you very much, Wolsey, for putting this in the chat. So we've played Leicester City, Ipswich, and Villa, and those 3 clubs have had a combined shot of 18, and 4 of them have been on target. And we've spoken about Martin Dubravka having not a lot to do. He did make a couple of decent saves as well, by the way. So shout out to him yesterday. I thought he'd done okay. However, looking at it from our point of view, Newcastle have had 64 shots and 26 of those were on target. And more importantly, the aggregate is 11-0. We were having issues with scoring goals, weren't we? And not creating chances. We were creating good goal scoring opportunity chances. And clearly we've fixed that. We've absolutely fixed that. And at the moment, I can't remember if I put this in our chat yesterday or not, or maybe I deleted it and stopped. But other than Liverpool, are we the informed team in the league? Other than Liverpool, is that fair to say? Would you say?
Yeah, Nottingham Forest as well.
Forest are flying. Forest are flying. Yeah,
well.
It's true.
Chelsea dropped points, of course, against Fulham, the Tucson derby. Fortunately for him. But yeah, no, we are. You're right, Chris. We are
it's that top 5 or top 6 if you throw Bournemouth in there. It's that top 6 that are kind of the most informed teams out of everybody. I think that's kind of where we are.
Yeah. Great to see. Rich Joblin says, are you lads getting sick of the media talking Isak away from us constantly? Takes away some of the enjoyment for me. Always a compliment, followed by there will be big clubs looking at him. I mean, I'll quickly answer this, Rich. For me, I try to ignore it, only for the fact that I think if Alexander Isak's banging form, that's good for Newcastle. And unfortunately, he will continually be linked with moves away. Unfortunately, we're not at Manchester City or Liverpool at the moment. So there will always be clubs who are looking to prey on our players. But all I would say is if Alexander Isak's getting talked about, it's because he's banging goals in for Newcastle United. And I think, all it does is just make our hands stronger, because anyone talking, we saw the article, we all laughed at it, 100 million euro bid from PSG, like that is actually laughable. It's absolutely laughable. And the fact that he just keeps banging in the goals, it just drives his price higher, which means other clubs are going to struggle to pay that price, because Newcastle cannot accept less than 120 million. They just can't. So the price is only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then that means that there's more chance of him staying with Newcastle United. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I do laugh at it as well. I just have to laugh when I see all these. Like the other day, we talked about the Everton takeover and them potentially. It's just ridiculous. Everyone wants a piece of him, but he's going nowhere. He's going nowhere. And we will, in time, we will sort out that contract as well.
They don't like Newcastle United having good players. They don't like us having quality players because it's part of the media narrative that most of these media that are writing stuff are all attached to these bigger clubs. And so they want these players to write about for their own club. So what they do, they put little pieces out there to link them to their own club. As it's already been said, that nobody can afford Alexander Isak because every time the media puts something out there about him and every time he scores a goal, the transfer fee goes up. So now you're looking at 130, 140 million. They're trying to look at something to create something, and they can't. They can't even create something about the contracts. He's still got 3 years left to run. So they can't talk about all contracts running down at 2 years or whatever. They're going to have to wait another year for that, a year and a half for that to happen. So nothing's in their narrative right now, and they're frustrated because Isak's happy. He's scoring goals for Newcastle. Newcastle are moving up the table nicely. And there's nothing they can do about it. So they're just keeping that train ticking away. But as Chris just said, like if they're talking about him, it's because he's a good player and he's doing good stuff for Newcastle. We have to expect this. We want to be in these positions. We're going to have to expect media and clubs talking about our players. It comes hand in hand, but just ignore it.
Boys, very quick question, because Dazzler, I know you've got to shoot in a minute. How key is it, do you think, that Newcastle have a strong January transfer window off the back of this comment, of a strong January transfer window and a strong finish to the season? So, you know, putting it into layman's terms, if we were to sign one or two really, really good players in this January window and finish in the top 5, let's say, is there is that the opportunity then to strike and say to Alexander Isak, come on, let's get a new 4 or 5 year deal on the table. You want to stay here. You want to be with us. How key is it that we get that European football and that we show that we're going to be progressing as a club and trying to bring in better players? What do you think, Daz?
Yeah, it's key. I think the European football is key, but just the feel good factor now at the moment as well. I've no doubt in time he's going to sign that contract because everything at the moment is rosy. Just don't want to get any little injuries now from anyone as well because the momentum is with us. Because if we can keep going, we're only going one way. But also in January as well to bring in a few just to strengthen and you know Eddie Howe talked about being gone stale, but just to kind of give that pep to everyone as well, just to lift it to another level. Yeah, bring that on.
Well, boys, I'm just going to stop you there just because we've had a couple of super chats in, both from the same guy. He's an amazing contributor to the channel. So a huge thank you to Dominic.
Cheers, Dominic.
Thank you so much for your $49.99 super chat. The absence of Longstaff not making an appearance, are we expecting him to be off in a few weeks? And if so, what will be in the bank now? Dominic, honestly, this is amazing. Another super chat from Dominic.
Oh, mate. Thank you,
Dominic.
And again, another super chat from Dominic. So 3 huge donations and super chats to the channel. Dominic, thank you so much. Massively appreciate it. And we've not heard from you for a while, so it's great to see you. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you. But thank you for your contributions. But I'll go back to that initial question, boys. The absence of Longstaff, do we think that potentially that might mean that January could be his last? I have to say, there's a couple of people that mentioned something similar. Don't know if you've seen something, Dominic, in his mannerisms or the way he was kind of acting yesterday that's made you think this. But boys, I'll come to you really quickly on this one.
Daz, you go first, mate.
Yeah, I'll go and then I have to kick a button and get out of here. I think Longstaff could be off. I hope it doesn't upset things though. That momentum and that kind of family feel. If he does go, cashing out on him now would probably be the most sensible thing to do. And for him as well, he's going forward. He's not going to be getting only through injury. He's going to be getting back in. Miley back now as well. Yeah, he must see that his time is going to be limited for us. So yeah, maybe an Everton, maybe a Forest, maybe someone like that. I think he should stay in the Premier League. And we've said it before, he will be a good signing for someone in the Premier League. I think he can kick on, and he can just add another dimension to his game and then go express himself. But if he does go, he's been a great servant to us, and the times when he's definitely shone for us. But I think maybe the time to spread his wings. Yeah. So that's like me. I'm going to go as well. But thank you very much, Dominic, as well for the super chats, boys. I shall see you later. See you in the next one.
Take care, Dazzler.
Have a good Christmas, chatters. Bye.
See you later, mate.
It's a great question, Dominic, from yourself. Chris, do you want to jump in on that? What do you think about Longstaff?
Do you know what, mate? I think it's a really good question from Dominic first and foremost. But watching, hang on, what game was it yesterday? Who did? Oh yeah, it was Leicester Liverpool. That's what it was. Watching the Leicester Liverpool game yesterday, I saw Oliver Skip come on, and the first thing I saw, mate, can't lie, he may as well have had it on his shirt. I just saw 20 million. I thought Tottenham Hotspur got 20 million pounds for him.
That's crazy.
And we spoke about it on previous show, didn't we? And we were saying, what are our players worth? You can't tell me that a Jacob Murphy or a Sean Longstaff aren't worth 20 million. If Oliver Skip's worth 20 million, you can't tell me otherwise. And I just looked and I thought, and genuinely, this is what I was thinking yesterday. Like, they've moved him on because he's had this time at Tottenham. Tottenham fans were bigging him up at one point, and then I think it became abundantly obvious, a bit like Harry Winks, who also ended up at Leicester, ironically. He's not at that level. And unfortunately, he won't ever get to that level. Sean Longstaff and the likes of Jacob Murphy, I'm going to throw him in there as well, who's in a real purple patch, and he's doing fantastically well. Don't want to cast any shade on him whatsoever. They're players who, work really hard for the club, hard working, and they will have. There's clearly talent there. That's why the Premier League footballers. But consistently, top six football, it's an elite level. And, the big clubs, if we want to be a really big club, the big clubs have a squad full of players who can all quite happily come in, and they're going to provide you with that level. And those kind of players are that level. They're just they're not consistent top six players. And that's no like harsh criticism of them. If you ask them that, they'd probably accept it. I suppose the easiest way to do it, Pete, is to look at certain players within your squad, and we'll start with the elite ones, in our opinion. If we were to sell, if we send a fax, I'm going to go old school. If we were to send a fax round tomorrow morning and say Alexander Isak's up for sale, which of the other 19 clubs would want Alexander Isak? All of them. Sandro Tonali, Bruno Gomes, Sven Botman. You can probably add 5, 6, 7 players of our existing squad to that list where all the other teams would go, oh yeah, we'll have him. There's certain players within our squad where you go, no one in the top 10 would want them. So if no one else in the top 10 wants them, that kind of tells you the level that they're at. And that's the harsh reality, isn't it? And it, as I say, I'm not here to put a downer on anything, but it's just the reality. It's just where they are. Do you know what I mean? And the bigger clubs, they're ruthless. And we keep using this word, they're ruthless, and they turn players over. City have done it more recently than anyone, and unfortunately, it's backfired. On the likes of Morgan Rogers and Cole Palmer. They thought we need to sell to bring some money in, and we don't think they're going to make that level. Unfortunately, those two players are proving that they are at that level, and that's a shame, obviously, for Man City, but to the benefit of Villa and Chelsea. But you've got to turn players over, and unless you want to sell your best players, which we don't want to do, and the only way for us to continue to progress and continue to build is to basically, thank people for the time and move them on. You can't just keep, he has the odd good game, he's decent. That's great. But if you want to be decent and be mid-table, maybe trying to scrape into Europe, keep those players. because they will provide you with moments and they will do things that are, really, really good. And they'll have like little veins of form where, 3 or 4 games, you think, oh, the penny's dropped. And then all of a sudden, after those 3 or 4 games, you will get average performances.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. That's the issue. You can't keep people on for the journey, unfortunately. And in this PSR Wales, which has changed football really, because it's encouraging teams to sell on players who are from their academy. That's what you've got to do. And this is why, since the new owners have come in and the new structures come in, why we're bringing, and everyone in the chat will know this, we're bringing in loads of 16, 17, 18-year-old players. That's why we're doing it, because in 3 or 4 years' time, 90% of those players will be moved on. They'll be moved on and they will go to other clubs and will recoup money for them. So hopefully we won't be in the position that we're in now. So the future's looking bright. But for the here and now, in order to progress, in order to kick on, in order to build, we're going to have to be ruthless. And if you want to keep all of your best players, that's what you've got to do.
Yeah,
that's my opinion on it, Pete.
Yeah, no, I agree with a lot of what you said. It's for me. I think Sean Longstaff wouldn't still be here if he wasn't from the area. If he did come through the academy, I think that plays a big part into why Longstaff has been kept as long as he has. He has provided some good moments, like you said, but we need consistent performers here. We need players that are gonna. If you're gonna be on the bench, you've got to come on and make a difference. And this has been my issue with Longstaff, whether he started or whether he's come off the bench, is that he comes on and he's just a player. He's just a body. He doesn't bring anything to the game. Even when Sandro Tonali was coming on, he was bringing and adding something. Even Harvey Barnes at times, he gives a goal threat. He'll score a goal for you. He'll provide a moment off the bench. What you need is those players that are going to do that. They're going to give you something in that game. Willett comes on and gives you pace and direct ability, and he's very versatile. He played on the left at times yesterday and then drops into that midfield spot. And you've got you need something to be able to offer. And at this moment in time, he doesn't necessarily offer anything. And his contract's been extended by a year. It's been done quietly, so we will get value for him. And someone else mentioned it actually, and I think it's quite telling, the fact that Longstaff didn't even get off the bench to have any minutes yesterday, I think told its own story. I think the fact that Willock's ahead of him and comes on first, the fact that Miggy as well, throw Miggy in there, the fact that Miley come on, didn't he? Yeah, and this is where the evolution is started. And look, we have to remember, guys, that this is what we want Newcastle to do. We want Newcastle to be proactive, not just off the pitch, but on it as well. And bringing on those players that, let's be honest, have got a future at Newcastle United for the next year or two. Miggy and Longstaff, for as much as we appreciate what they've done for the club, they don't have a future at Newcastle United. So why bring them on for these minutes? Get minutes into Miley. He's the future. Get minutes into Willock. He will have moments where he does something for Newcastle United over the course of the season. Use this as the time. For me, I'm still adamant, mate, that Chris, I'm still adamant. We need to sign players in this window, even more so now, looking at where we are in the league, because we can't just sit on our laurels and go, "Yep, we're 5th right now. Everything's great." We could lose the next game. Hopefully, we don't, and be back down to 9th very, very quickly, and the narrative changes again. What we need to do is build on what we've got. We've got after these 2 games, we've got a nice set of Premier League fixtures going into January. We need to make sure that we're maximising ourselves to give us the best second half of the season possible. And with that, what we need to do is sign players. Now, in order to sign players, it's been very, very clear. It's not new information that we need to move players on. We've got a 25-man squad. The squad's full. We need to sell players in order to bring players in. It's that simple. People are saying, "Oh, yeah, we're not going to sign because it all depends on if players are going to go out." Well, we knew that. We knew that back in August when we completely filled our 25-man squad. Miggy needs to go. Longstaff needs to go. As much as he's doing a job at the moment, Dubravka needs to go, because at 35, 36 years old, with 6 months left on his contract, if you can get money for him, you need to move him on.
You take the money.
It's being ruthless, making the right business decisions for Newcastle United. Less sentiment. Yes, he's having a good moment right now. Still needs to be moved on.
Yeah.
Nick Pope is more long-term than Martin Dubravka, but ultimately, as we've said on this channel, we still need a brand new goalkeeper. So you've got 3 players there that you're going to recoup some money for. Tom, earlier on, Tom Dixon, our super spanner, asked the question about Matt Target. Needs to move on. Move him on. If he's on as big a money wage as he is, let's recoup some of that back. Move him on, even if it's for a loan for 6 months. He's barely played any football. We need to be smarter. We move on those 4 players. That's 4 players or 4 spaces that have been created in our squad. I'm not saying we're going to sign 4 players, but what we can do is use those wages and any money that's recouped to go and buy somebody that's going to come in and be first team for us.
Absolutely.
That's what we need to do. And it's just smart play. And unfortunately, John Longstaff's part of that conversation. Because as we've said before, Chris, and we've talked about it separately off the channel, Lewis Miley is the perfect replacement for him.
Yes.
He's the ready-made replacement for Longstaff. We have the succession plan already in place. We don't need to sign anyone for him, which means if we get rid of Longstaff and get 15, 20 million for him, because I tell you what, they spent 20 million on Winks and Skip. But Longstaff's better than those 2 players.
Exactly.
Go Leicester, go spend. You need players right now. Go spend another 20 million on a lad that was playing Champions League last season and scored against PSG. That will be our selling point. To get 20 million off him, get him in that Leicester team, get him playing there, regular football every week, and
he do well.
Money. Yeah, he will. Bottom half Premier League team. That's where Longstaff are, and let's go recoup that and get in a player of a right winger or a centre back or both, and really strengthen this team and make it solid.
Yes, and this, I suppose, do you know what? You're talking like you were then, Pete, about having the ready-made replacements. That brought back memories of the frustration over Kieran Trippier as well. Like, Kieran Trippier came in yesterday, I thought he did really, really well. Someone in the chat said about his leadership skills, totally agree. He was calming everyone down, even in the huddle. I could see him talking away. That's what he brings to the table. But when you've got that ready-made replacement, and we're talking about being ruthless, when you've got that ready-made replacement, which we did in Tino Livramento, we've got Emil Kraft as backup. Harrison Ashby, you could argue. I know we're not going to go down that rabbit hole, but we had players in there to fill a gap, and that's where the frustration for me lied when we got offered the opportunity to take our money, to recoup our money from buying Kieran Trippier and giving him to Bayern Munich, and we didn't take that opportunity. His name will no doubt be on that list, Pete. There'll be quite a few players on that list, and some will agree in the chat, and some will argue. Some will argue that it shouldn't be the case. The likes of Harvey Barnes, the likes of Jacob Murphy, they will all be on that list, and there'll only be a clutch of players who it'll be like, yeah, we really don't want to sell those players, like, under any circumstances. Look how close we were to selling Anthony Gordon. That showed how desperate it was, the situation. And then we ended up losing Elliot Anderson, who I'm sure Eddie Howe will not have wanted to get rid of, and Kuba Minte, who he will not have wanted to get rid of. But if you don't make those ruthless decisions on other players, that's what can happen. And this is why, like you say, Pete, you've got to be looking at your Dubravkas, your Longstaffs, your Miggies. They're the players where you go, well, they have to go. You've got to get rid of them. Not this, we might need him, and he's great in the dressing room. No, got to go. Got to go in order to kick on and progress.
Definitely.
Do you agree with that, Pete? Do you agree with that? That was going to be my last question.
I think that's fair. More than fair. Absolutely. I think with the way it is now, he's got a year and a half left on his contract now, as it stands, because of that quiet extension. Yeah, 18 million. I'd have said even with sort of a year to go, 15 million, so a year and a half, 18 million, 20 million. Yeah, I think so. I think there's clubs out there that would pay it. Absolutely. So yeah, I do. I agree with that. There are lesser players in the Championship that have gone for more money.
There is,
in my opinion. So yeah, you just got to find a buyer for him. But I do think, I can't remember who said it, but I do think Longstaff not coming on yesterday was a big talking point.
He was normally the go-to, wasn't he? He's normally the sub that you think, yeah, he'll come on a sub, he'll come in. And you're right. I think it was telling that Miley came on above him. And I think that was almost a sign. We've seen it with Miggy, haven't we? We've seen it with Miggy, in that Miggy's not always come on the pitch and others have come on ahead of him.
Yeah. I've got two more things, just really quick.
Go on,
Chris. Well, one, happy birthday for Sunday for Tom, our super spanner. Honestly, super support for us, always putting things out on socials, always showing support in the chat. Coming up with great questions. Have the best birthday if we don't see you on a show beforehand. Hopefully we do. We'll have to talk about that, but if we don't, have a great birthday, mate. As well, last couple of things. Tom's actually said Bruno Guimaraes looks like a different player now that Tonali is in the role in the team, so playing in that number 6. Looks a great balance with Bruno picking up that high creative role. Long may it continue. Great few games. Chris, I want to get your thoughts on Bruno playing in that number 8. Obviously, we talked about his involvement in the Isak goal, but what have you made of Bruno Guimaraes' performances so far, mate?
I just think he's been outstanding. I really do. I think he's outstanding, particularly yesterday. I thought he was brilliant. It almost feels like we've got the Bruno of old back. When he first came to the club and he was making such an impact, and he's just him and Tonali, and obviously with Joelinton as well, have found that balance. But more importantly with Tonali, because that was the issue, wasn't it? Can Bruno and Tonali play together? Well, they absolutely can, and we found a formula that works really well. Eddie Howe is always quick to say, isn't he, that Bruno and Tonali kind of interchange. And they both know each other's game. They both know where they're going to be. But we're seeing Bruno in that far more advanced role more often than not. And maybe he doesn't want to admit that. I don't know. But we know that Bruno can drop in if needed when Tonali goes on one of those runs. There was a moment yesterday as well, Pete, when Tonali was chasing. I think he was chasing the goalie down, and it was just great to see. But then at that moment, Bruno's just going to drop in and go. Sandro's gone off on his jollies there, so I'll just tuck in. But invariably, we're seeing Sandro holding in that number 6 position and just basically dictating the play. And I forget who said it. Might have been Craig Hope, might have been someone else, saying that Sandro Tonali almost looks like he's found his home now at Newcastle in terms of position. And it's whether or not that he's been given the main job, if you like, of orchestrating that midfield. He's protecting the defence and he's also dictating the play. And he's that good. He's that good at being able to do that. It just allows Bruno to, don't worry, I've got this. You get yourself on. You crack on. You find those key passes, those intricate little plays. I watched back, Pete, from the last game, that weird half volley where Bruno, he's got to act instantly and he hits it with the outside of his foot and it spins out to Gordon. He provides you with moments like that. Not many other players on that pitch could have done that. Arguably, I think Sandro Tonali could have, but I can't think of anybody else who would have been able to play that ball. And this is what Bruno provides you with. We've been saying for so long on this channel, we need someone who can unlock the door, who's got the key to unlock the door and play that telling pass. We saw Bruno do it for Isak's goal against Liverpool. He just does that little reverse pass, and not many players see it, and not many players are able to execute it, but Bruno is. And I think not only are we now seeing the best of Sandro Tonali, which is brilliant, but we're also seeing the best of Bruno Guimaraes, and that's what we need, because a fully firing Bruno Guimaraes is a delight to watch. And as well, which we've said since he joined, we're incredibly lucky because he literally wears the Newcastle heart on his shirt, doesn't he? Like he's all about Newcastle. He's fully in on Newcastle. The fans are behind him. He riles the crowd up, and you know that he loves being there and he wants to do his best for us. And I think he's just in a great moment at the minute. And long may it continue. And the more that we put these teams to bed, and the more dominant we are, then it gives all the players belief, and then the fans can get behind the players. It's got that knock-on effect. I think we were in a little bit of a rut in terms of the confidence. Maybe some people argue because they didn't know the direction the club was going in. Lots of different things. But now the fact that we're putting teams to the sword, yes, some people will argue, oh, it was only Leicester, it was only Ipswich. But that game yesterday, that typified it for me. And anybody saying as well, oh, it's only because of the red card that you won. I still firmly believe, I know Villa had a little moment, even at 1-0 when we were 1-0 up and Durán was still on the pitch. I still believe that we would put them to bed yesterday. And we did. We went out and got the job done. It was such a professional performance. But Bruno was a massive part of that. And I think Bruno and Tonali at the moment are just unplayable. And people have said it for a while now, haven't they? Particularly on away days, opposition fans, a few of them have said, you've got one of the best midfields, if not the best midfield in the Premier League. And I'm inclined to agree, because when them two are on song with Joelinton, who gives you that physicality, that brute strength, that determination, and it also scares the opposition, it's just a lovely balance. It's an absolutely lovely balance.
Yeah, we thought it when Tonali first came in, but we just didn't have the right balance. But like as you said, we've got that now. And Bruno said in an interview about a year ago that he wants to play in the number 8. He doesn't, it isn't his best position in the number 6, but he was effective for Newcastle. Well, we've got a player that can play there now, so he can be effective moving forward. And what we're seeing right now is almost the 21-22 end of season when he first signed. That first 6 months of Bruno, where he was getting forward, the winner against Leicester, and finding himself in the box, not just creative, but finding himself in goal-scoring positions where he can be a nuisance and pick up spaces as an extra player in the box. It's allowed him that creative freedom to go around the pitch and make moments, knowing that he's got that big man, Sandro, at the back to protect him. So it is really, really good to see. And they have already created a super understanding between themselves, and adding that. I just think for me, with Sandro Tonali, he almost feels like a hybrid of Joelinton and Bruno, because he has the traits of both players, and it almost makes the balance of the midfield sit perfectly. Because you look at Sandro in the middle, he's got that physicality and that athleticism of Joelinton, where he can put himself about. We saw it against Kamara yesterday, where he's big and physical against him, and he puts himself about. He can get around the pitch, but he also has that one-touch elegance, quality of football that Bruno has, and he doesn't have those abilities better than the two players that we're talking about. He isn't as big, strong, as physical as Joelinton, or he isn't as elegant and sort of knife through butter type level passing on a regular basis like Bruno, but he has the abilities of both. And he's able to add that to his game. And so he just makes for the perfect foil. Joelinton goes around bulldozing players. Bruno goes around picking up pockets, and Tonali just does a bit of both. And it just brings everything together. He's absolutely the hybrid of those two players, and that midfield set is perfect. But
he's so good on the ball as well, Pete. So good on the ball in possession.
He's really difficult sometimes to get him off the ball. Sometimes he makes passes that sometimes gives the ball away. He did it a couple of times in the first half, but they're risk passes. He's playing risk passes, not the simple backwards passes that we got frustrated with the likes of Longstaff and various others previously. Is that he's actually trying to move the ball in the right direction, forward passing, getting it forward. And sometimes with that, you do lose the ball. But one thing you can guarantee is that Tonali will break his back to go and get that ball back. And 9 times out of 10, he will recover the ball, which is what you want. We've got love from Sweden. Literally love from Sweden. I hope you are well. A few people coming in late into the chat. You can watch the show back as well. We're just about to wrap up. And you're talking about that midfield, Chris, just to end on. When I watch those three play, this is how it makes me feel. Makes me feel good. And the last point was going to be, Chris, for Eddie Howe. Look, we said we wanted an improvement when we lost to Brentford. I was very clear on it. I wanted 4 wins. I needed 4 wins from that. He's got those 4 wins as we stand right now. Just a word for Eddie Howe before we wrap up, mate.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And do you know what? It's important to say, and I think you champion this, Pete, it's important to be able to critique. We said from the start on this channel, we were never Eddie Howe out, But based on what we were seeing and based on what we, were watching week in, week out, we had concerns, we had worries. And I think a lot of people in the chat did. And people in the chat, there's still some that aren't convinced. And I totally get that, because this needs to now be the norm. But the players are responding. The players are, they've upped the performance levels. They're giving their all every time they go out. The press is back, the intensity's back. And that's all we've wanted. It took a while. And it is a little bit disappointing, given that we're 18 games in, that we're only just starting to see this on a regular basis. I wish we'd seen it from game one, but it is what it is. Football is a results-based business, and it's based on the results. And the fact that we are now getting the results, we've put ourselves in a fantastic position. We're now fifth in the table. We go into Old Trafford to a Man United team who are in disarray. I just hope that we can continue that, but. We all love Eddie Howe, everything he's done for the club, for the city. He's been absolutely brilliant since he's come in, and I'm really pleased he's turned this round. And I just hope that he can continue it, because I'll repeat again, Pete, and we've said this from the start of the season. The minimum requirement this season is European football, and I think if Eddie Howe secures European football in whatever way, I think he will keep his job. If he doesn't, that's where it's up for question. But him and the players, have given themselves a fantastic opportunity now to do that. We've had the 3 wins on the spin in the Premier League. Let's make it 4 on Monday. And if we do make it 4 on Monday, the league table's going to look even better. And we're creating that gap between ourselves and the likes of Tottenham, Man United. And, it's only going to put us in better stead. I think he said in January, we've got some really good fixtures coming up. And let's go and improve the squad. Go and give Eddie the money, or, I say give Eddie the money. Paul Mitchell and Eddie just work together, get those couple of players in that we so desperately need. Things are looking up, and people could say, oh, we don't need anyone. Everything's fine as it is for now. We do. We absolutely do, because there'll be moments where we lose players through suspension, through injury. We need to be the best prepared that we can. And I think bringing in new players, it not only sets us up better for the second part of the season, but it also keeps players on the toes, and it shows some of our blue chip players that we are looking to progress and we are looking to kick on. And that's what we need to do. But long may it continue, Eddie, is what I'd say.
Absolutely. As you just said, no managers above criticism, but equally, and we've seen it on social media a lot over the last 6 months or so, maybe even a year, is that it's okay to bash Eddie and his decisions. Yes, we might not agree with his decisions, but I tell you what, he's got a hell of a lot right in these last 4 games. And it's not just about the wins, it's about the way we're winning, the way we're performing, the quality of performance of individual players, the amount of goals that we're scoring, the amount of clean sheets. You look at everything across the board, it is exactly where we want it to be. So as much as we criticise, and I say we, I don't mean me, I mean sections of the fan base, as much as those people criticise Eddie Howe, you should be able to be balanced and be able to praise him and go, you know what, fair play. He's done a cracking job in these last 4 games, and he's set us up nicely to be sitting in 5th place. So let's be even on that, is what I'll say to that section of the fan base that want to bash him and come in sometimes into our chat and go, Eddie out, I want him out. Hey, well, he's doing what we wanted him to do.
Yeah.
And so therefore he deserves that praise for being able to turn it around. And you know what? Not one player has ever said anything against him. Every single one of those players, including our top blue chip players, are talking about how great Eddie Howe is. So if those players and people in the club are telling us how good Eddie Howe is, then that's good enough for me. And I'll back that boy 110%. And I think we should do that. So massive props to Eddie Howe. Great team selections. Great tactics, great substitutions. Game management is on point right now in all 4 of those games, looking after players, giving them the right type of minutes, bringing on the right type of subs. He's doing everything he needs to do. 2 tough games away at Man United and Tottenham, but he's put us in a great position where we can really attack them. So big props to Eddie Howe, absolutely. One thing we didn't do, we got 200 in the chat. Make sure you get those likes up. We got 350 likes for our last show, which is unbelievable. Thank you for watching, people, on a Friday morning. You brought your tea and toast to the show. Great comments, great opinions. But make sure you click that like as well. Get those likes up. We want over 250 likes overall for this show. And I have to say, fully expect more. One little shout out to the absolute disgrace that is Morgan Rogers for holding his face, having had his shoulder pushed away by Joelinton. An absolute disgrace. I'm not going to talk about anything more than that. I had Billy telling me that was the same as the Durán challenge.
Oh no, Billy
deserved the red card, pushing his shoulder away. He's had a mare. Billy's had him there. But look, people, we'll wrap that up there. It's been an absolute pleasure to review a superb win. Newcastle in 5th place. Long may it continue. But Chris, what should we see ourselves out with today,
mate? Do you know what? It kind of should be the Eddie. It should be the Eddie Howe. But I just love that Alexander Isak song, mate. I just love it, and he just can't stop scoring. He just can't stop scoring.
I tell you what, we'll do a little bit of a mashup. We'll start with the Eddie, and then we'll rock into the Isak. Let's do that. But a pleasure as always, mate. People in the chat, we will speak to you soon. Keep an eye out and keep the notification bell on, because some shows might just be popped up in a minute without warning. So keep an eye out, because Loaded Mag is going to be extremely busy this next 4 or 5 weeks. So stick with us, people. Subscribe to the channel, and a How Isak mashup. Speak to you guys soon.
Sir.